My in-laws laughed as my wife spent my Black Friday bonus on herself, so I walked out quietly. And they still regret that silence. I'm a 31-year-old guy, and I thought this year's Black Friday would finally mark the start of something better for me and my wife, Claire. I've been working in logistics for nearly a decade. Long hours, overtime shifts, and a boss who thinks family time is just a luxury. But this time, it felt worth it. After months of late nights and missed weekends, my company finally gave out bonuses. I wasn't expecting much, just enough to clear a few bills and maybe surprise Claire with something nice. I didn't know that bonus would end up buying me a lesson instead of happiness. When I came home that night, the air smelled like the rosemary chicken she was cooking. The lights were dim, and our tiny living room glowed from the candles she'd set up. "You're home early," she said with that soft smile that used to melt me. I told her about the bonus, how proud I was that we'd finally have some breathing room. She hugged me tight, whispered, "You deserve it, babe. Maybe we can finally do something fun this year." I felt lighter than I had in months. We ate dinner and talked about Christmas plans, travel ideas, even joked about how she always wanted a proper kitchen setup. Her laughter felt genuine, warm. I went to bed thinking maybe, just maybe, we were finally finding our rhythm again after all those tense months. The next morning, I woke up to her humming in the kitchen, scrolling through her phone with excitement. "What's got you smiling so early?" I asked, still half asleep. She grinned and said, "Just checking Black Friday deals. Mom and Sophie want to go shopping later." I didn't think twice, not yet. But by that night, I'd realized that Girls' Day would change everything. That morning, I left for work feeling good, like maybe all those endless shifts were finally paying off. My hands were cracked from the cold warehouse air, my back sore from months of lifting pallets, but I didn't mind. That bonus was the proof that my sacrifices meant something. I even started planning how I'd use it. Pay off the credit card, fix the car's AC, maybe book a weekend getaway for Claire and me. I wanted her to know I saw her, that even when things got hard, I was still trying. When I called her during lunch, she sounded distracted, almost giddy. "We're at the mall," she said over loud music. Mom insisted I come, said I never treat myself. I laughed and told her, "Just don't go too crazy, okay? We've got bills coming up." She chuckled. "Relax, it's just window shopping." Her tone was light, but something in it felt practiced, like she was trying to sound casual. I brushed it off and went back to work. The sound of forklifts echoed through the warehouse as I kept thinking about her smile the night before. Maybe she really did deserve a day out. Maybe this was balance, me working hard, her finally enjoying a break. When I got home that evening, the house was quiet, too quiet. Her shopping bags were lined up neatly by the couch, glossy, expensive-looking ones. I spotted the brand names immediately. My stomach tightened. Then her perfume filled the air as she walked in, beaming. "Hey, babe, you won't believe the deals I found," she said, holding up a pair of designer shoes. I forced a smile, but my chest felt heavy. "How much did you spend?" I asked. She kissed my cheek and said, "Don't worry about it. It's our money." Something in the way she said "our" didn't feel like love anymore. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of Claire's laughter coming from the kitchen. She was on speakerphone with her sister, Sophie, talking about the haul they scored.
"I can't believe we actually got the last bag,"
she said, giggling. I stayed in bed a little longer, staring at the ceiling, trying to convince myself I was overthinking it. Maybe she used her own card. Maybe she'd just gotten a few things on sale. I wanted to believe that. When I walked in, she was already dressed, hair done, makeup flawless, wearing one of the new tops she must have bought yesterday. "You look nice," I said. She smiled quickly. "Thanks. Mom and Sophie want to hit another mall before the weekend rush. I'll be back later." I hesitated. "Maybe I could come along?" Her expression froze for half a second before she forced a grin. "It's just girl time, babe. You'd be bored out of your mind." That familiar sting of exclusion hit me again, but I didn't push. I kissed her cheek, said, "Have fun," and watched her drive off in the car I paid for. Hours later, I was scrolling through my phone during a lunch break when her Instagram notification popped up. A new story, Claire posing with shopping bags taller than our coffee table. The caption, "Girls' Day. Treat yourself, you deserve it." The comments were full of her friends calling her a queen and spoiled in the best way. My chest went cold. I zoomed in on one photo, Luxury brands, limited edition sneakers, the latest iPhone box peeking from a bag. My bonus, my sacrifice, I didn't text her. Didn't call. I just stared at the screen until my food went cold, wondering how love could feel so much like humiliation. That night, she walked through the door humming, pretending nothing was wrong. That weekend, Claire's mom invited us over for dinner. Just a small family thing, she said. I figured maybe it was a chance to clear the air, to feel normal again. I wore a clean shirt, brought a bottle of wine, even tried to convince myself I was being silly about the whole shopping thing. But the moment I walked into that house, I knew I was walking into something else entirely. Claire's sister, Sophie, was already there, showing off her new watch. Her mom greeted me with that overly sweet smile that always hid something sharp underneath. "You're so lucky, Claire," she said. "Most men wouldn't let their wives treat themselves like this." Everyone laughed. Claire added, "Yeah, he finally loosened up." I told him, "Life's short, right?" Her father chuckled. "So that's where your bonus went, son?" "Into handbags and heels!" The table erupted in laughter again, forks clinking, wine glasses tapping. I sat there pretending to laugh along, but inside, it felt like my chest was caving in. I kept replaying every hour I'd worked overtime, every backache, every night I came home too tired to eat, and now, they were laughing at it. Laughing at me. When I tried to change the subject, Claire's mother leaned forward. "Don't be so serious, dear. You should be proud she looks so good. Makes you look successful." Something inside me cracked. I forced a polite smile and said, "Yeah, real successful." My voice didn't sound like my own. The rest of dinner blurred into white noise. Their laughter, the clinking glasses, the glow of Claire's diamond earrings under the chandelier, it all blended into one sick joke I couldn't escape. When we got home that night, I didn't even take off my shoes. I just sat in the dark, staring at her shopping bags lined neatly by the wall, and then she said, "You're being weird again." Her words snapped the silence like glass breaking. "You're being weird again," she repeated, crossing her arms. The way she said it, like I was the problem, made something twist inside me. I looked at the bags stacked neatly by the wall, the ones I'd been too tired to move. "Claire," I started, trying to keep my voice steady, "how much did you spend from the bonus?" She rolled her eyes. "Oh my God, are we really doing this? It's our money." "You act like I stole from you." I stood up slowly. "I worked for that money, Claire. I thought we agreed it'd go toward bills. Maybe save some." She laughed, that sharp, dismissive sound that didn't match the woman I thought I married. "You're always so uptight. You never buy anything fun. I thought maybe for once I could enjoy something nice without feeling guilty." "Guilty?" I said, incredulous. "You spent the entire bonus and didn't even tell me." She tossed her hair back. "Because you'd just say no. You always say no. Do you have any idea how exhausting it is to live with someone who treats money like a prison guard?" Her words hit harder than she knew. "I'm trying to build a life for us," I said quietly. "Not a shopping spree," she smirked. "You're just mad that I didn't need your permission." That one line froze me. It wasn't about money anymore. It was about control, power, respect, or the lack of it. I felt something in me go still. I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. I just said, "Okay," and walked away. She muttered under her breath, always playing the victim. But that night, lying in bed with my back turned to her, I realized something terrifying. I wasn't angry anymore. I was done. For the next few days, the house went cold. Not in temperature, but in tone. Claire barely spoke to me unless she needed something. Her words came out clipped, coated in sarcasm. "Don't forget to take your car," she'd say. Or, "Maybe you should handle the bills since you're the financial expert." Every sentence was a jab dressed up as conversation. I tried keeping peace, hoping she'd realize what she'd done. I cooked dinner one night, her favorite, chicken Alfredo, and set the table. She walked in, took one look, and said, "Wow, you're really trying to guilt me into being grateful, huh?" Then she grabbed her plate and went to eat in the living room. The sound of her sitcom laughter filled the house while I sat alone, staring at the flickering candle I'd lit for us. Her mom called the next morning. I could hear Claire in the kitchen whispering, but not quietly enough. "He's still sulking," she said, half laughing. Then her mom's voice, "Let him cool off. You did nothing wrong. Men love playing martyr." I felt my throat tighten, the words crawling up but refusing to come out. That's when I realized every time I stayed silent, they mistook it for weakness. 2 nights later, as I was getting ready for bed, I overheard her on the phone with her sister. "He's just mad I finally treated myself for once," she said. "He'll get over it." "He always does." They laughed. That laughter was the sound of a switch flipping inside me. I wasn't angry. Not anymore. I was studying, watching, planning, because the next time they laughed, it wouldn't be at my expense. I went to bed that night and stared at the ceiling, thinking she has no idea what's coming. The next morning, I logged into our joint bank account before work. Maybe I wanted to see how bad the damage really was, or maybe I just needed proof I wasn't crazy. What I found made my stomach twist. There were transfers I didn't recognize. Small amounts scattered over months, $150 here, $200 there, all labeled house expenses. But when I cross-checked them with our bills, they didn't match anything. A pit formed in my chest. I clicked through each one until I noticed the destination, a savings account under her name. My pulse quickened. She'd been moving my money, our money, into an account I never even knew existed. I printed the statements, my hands shaking. For months, she'd been skimming off my paychecks, quietly building a secret fund. And all the while, she'd been mocking me for being too controlling. That evening, I didn't mention it. I came home to the sound of her blow dryer, the faint smell of perfume, and her phone buzzing with notifications. "Going out with Sophie," she said casually, walking past me. "Don't wait up." Her reflection flashed in the mirror as she adjusted her earrings, so calm, so sure I'd never call her out. I just nodded. "Have fun." Inside, though, everything was shifting. I spent the night at the kitchen table, papers spread out like crime evidence. My phone glowed with every bank alert I hadn't noticed before. She wasn't careless, she was confident. She knew I'd never check. That was the night I decided to stop warning her. By the time she got home past midnight, tipsy and humming, I'd already opened a new account in my name only. I lay there pretending to sleep as she whispered on the phone, "He'll never find out." She was right, at least, not yet. December rolled in, cold and hollow. Claire was in her best mood in months, almost too cheerful. She decorated the house with gold ribbons and fake snow, blasting Christmas songs while I stared at the mounting bills on my laptop. Every carol sounded like mockery. One evening, she came in waving her phone. "Mom's hosting Christmas dinner this year," she said brightly. "Everyone's so excited. You'll come, right?" I wanted to say no. I wanted to tell her I was done pretending, but something in her tone dared me to decline. So I said, "Sure." The night of the dinner, her parents' house was glowing. Giant tree, fancy dinnerware, the kind of showy warmth that hides rot underneath. As soon as I walked in, her dad clapped my back. "Heard you two had a great shopping spree last month." "Claire's got quite the eye." She laughed, brushing his arm. "Oh, that was nothing. I just used some savings I'd been putting aside." The words hit me like a slap. Savings. The same savings she'd stolen from my paychecks. Her family gasped in admiration, her mom saying, "That's my girl, always thinking ahead." Everyone toasted to her financial independence, while I sat there gripping my glass, trying not to shatter it. Then came the final insult. Her sister raised a glass and said, "To Claire, the real breadwinner of the family." Laughter erupted. I smiled politely, my jaw aching. "Cheers," I muttered, and took a slow sip. The rest of the night, I barely spoke. Claire kept glancing at me like I was ruining her show. But inside, I wasn't angry anymore, just gone. As we left, she looped her arm through mine and whispered, "See? That wasn't so bad, right?" I looked at her and said softly, "No, it was perfect." She didn't realize I meant it in the most final way possible. When we got home from that dinner, Claire went straight to bed, humming as she scrolled through her phone. I sat in the living room staring at the dim reflection of the Christmas tree lights flickering across the walls. Every ornament she'd hung shimmered like a lie, perfect, hollow, and fragile. On the coffee table lay all the proof I'd gathered. Printed statements, screenshots of the hidden account, her posts flaunting the things she bought with my money, the weight of it all pressed down until I couldn't breathe. I'd given her everything. Time, loyalty, years of sacrifice, and in return, she gave me mockery. I don't even know when the tears started. Maybe when I remembered the nights I came home exhausted and she'd barely look up from her phone, or the times I'd worked double shifts so she could relax without worry. Every moment I'd mistaken for love suddenly felt like charity I'd given to someone who never cared. Around midnight, she stirred awake and came out, squinting. "What are you doing up?" she mumbled. I didn't answer. I just looked at her, the woman I thought I knew. "Claire," I said quietly, "do you even realize what you've done to me?" She sighed, annoyed. "God, are we still on this? You're being dramatic." Her words cut deeper than any argument could. Dramatic. That's what she thought this was. She turned to walk away, but I said, "I found the account." She froze mid-step. Then slowly she turned, forcing a smirk. "You went through my stuff?" Wow, that's controlling. That was it, the last mask falling. I didn't yell. Didn't chase her. I just whispered, "You don't get to call theft independence." She rolled her eyes and went back to bed. And that was the moment I broke. Not loudly, but quietly enough for her not to notice. The next morning, I woke up before sunrise. The house was still, except for the faint hum of the refrigerator and Claire's soft snoring from the bedroom. Something inside me had gone completely still. Not numb, just done. That kind of peace that comes right before a storm. I made coffee, sat at the kitchen table, and started making a list. Not an argument list. Not a how to fix this list. A plan, quiet, methodical, final. Step 1, move my paycheck out of the joint account. Step 2, open a new one under my name only. Step 3, change every password linked to me, banking, utilities, subscriptions, all of it. Step 4, start looking for a small apartment nearby. Nothing fancy, just enough to breathe without her shadow hanging over me. While she slept, I packed a single duffel bag, some clothes, my laptop, and the documents she never cared to organize. I left her closet untouched. Let her keep the designer bags, the shoes, the shiny distractions. Those were her trophies, not mine. I spent the next few days moving quietly. Bit by bit, I transferred what was left of my savings, updated my HR details, and rerouted my mail. Each silent step was freedom disguised as routine. She didn't notice a thing. Every evening she came home bragging about new decorations or gossiping with her mom. I nodded, smiled, played along. By the end of the week, I had keys to a small one-bedroom apartment across town. Empty walls, flickering light, cracked tiles, but it felt like air after years underwater. The last thing I needed to do was decide when. And when that moment came, I knew she wouldn't hear it in my voice. She'd hear it in my silence. I didn't sleep the night before I left. I just lay there, staring at the faint glow of her phone lighting up the room every few minutes. She scrolled, laughed softly, probably texting Sophie or her mother, completely unaware that it would be the last night we ever shared a roof. When her breathing finally slowed into sleep, I got up quietly. My bag was already packed. I took one last look around. The half-burnt candle on the table, the shopping bags she'd left out like trophies, the framed photo from our wedding day. We looked happy there. Maybe we were once. Or maybe I just wanted it badly enough to believe it. I set my keys on the counter and left my wedding ring beside them. No note, no explanation. Just proof that I'd stopped fighting for something that never existed. The morning light hit my face as I closed the door behind me. It was cold, sharp, and clean, like freedom always feels at first. A few hours later, while I was unpacking in my new apartment, my phone started buzzing nonstop. Claire. Then her mom. Then Sophie. I didn't answer any of them. By noon, her text changed tone, from confusion to rage. "Where the hell are you? Are you serious right now?" "You're being pathetic." Then finally, one that almost made me laugh through the ache. "You could have at least said goodbye, but that was the point." She'd spent years talking over my silence, never listening to what it meant. Now she'd have to sit in it. That night, I sat on the floor of my empty apartment eating takeout straight from the box. For the first time in years, the quiet didn't feel lonely. It felt earned. The next week felt like watching a slow storm unravel from a safe distance. Claire's calls came less often, but her family filled the gap. Her mother left voicemail after voicemail, each one dripping with that passive-aggressive sweetness she'd perfected. "Sweetheart, we just want to talk." "You're overreacting." Claire's been crying nonstop. Then softer. "You know how emotional she gets. Don't punish her for one mistake." Her father was less delicate, He called from a blocked number one evening and said, "You're making my daughter look bad, son. Whatever issues you two had, handle them privately. People are talking." That line stuck with me. People are talking. That's what they cared about. Not the betrayal, not the lies, just their image. I hung up before he could finish his little lecture. Meanwhile, I started hearing things through mutual friends. Apparently, their family's small business, where I'd been helping out financially through Claire, was struggling. The same money she'd been quietly funneling from my checks was what kept their operation afloat. Without it, cracks began to show. Claire finally sent a long message a few days later. It started with fake remorse and quickly turned into self-pity. "I'm sorry you felt disrespected, but you didn't have to make a scene by leaving. Everyone's been worried sick. I can't believe you just abandoned your marriage over money." I stared at the screen for a long time before deleting it. The word money echoed in my mind. That's all she ever saw when she looked at me. For the first time, I didn't feel anger. Just distance. Clean, quiet distance. The next morning, I woke up to a text from one of her cousins. "Dude, her dad's losing it. The business might collapse. Guess karma's got perfect timing." I just smiled to myself, sipping coffee. Silence was doing my talking for me now. A week later, I heard a soft knock on my apartment door. For a second, I thought it might be the landlord or a delivery guy, but when I looked through the peephole, it was Claire. Hair messy, eyes puffy, clutching her phone like it held her last bit of control. I didn't open the door immediately. Part of me wanted to walk away, but curiosity won. I cracked it open. "Can we talk?" she asked, her voice small, like the sound of guilt rehearsed too many times. I stepped aside and let her in. She looked around at the bare apartment. No couch, no TV, just a table, a chair, and a mattress on the floor. "You're really living like this?" she said, almost disgusted. I shrugged. "Peace doesn't need much furniture," she sighed and sat down. "Look, I get that you're mad, but you didn't have to humiliate me like this. Everyone's been asking questions." Mom's furious. Dad's embarrassed. There it was again, everyone else. Not a single word about what she'd done to me. "I didn't humiliate you, Claire," I said quietly. "You just finally have to live without my silence covering your mess." Her lip trembled. "I didn't mean to hurt you. I just wanted some independence." I leaned forward. "Independence isn't stealing from the person who trusted you." For a moment, she had no comeback. Just tears. Then she whispered, "Can we start over?" I looked at her, really looked. The same woman who laughed while her family mocked me. The same one who thought my exhaustion was boring. I stood up and opened the door. "Claire, I already did start over." "You just weren't invited." She left without another word, and for the first time, her silence felt louder than mine ever had. It didn't take long for the fallout to reach me. A few weeks after Claire's visit, mutual friends started sending screenshots. Her dad's business had officially gone under. Their suppliers pulled out, citing financial instability. The same empire they'd mocked me from had crumbled under its own arrogance. I didn't gloat. I didn't need to. The universe had already done the heavy lifting. Claire tried reaching out again. This time, her messages were stripped of pride. I just wanted to say, "I'm sorry for everything. I miss you. I didn't realize how much you did for me until it was gone." Each text read like someone mourning comfort, not love. I could feel it between every word. She didn't miss me. She missed the life I built around her. One evening, Sophie even called. "She's miserable, you know," she said softly. "Mom's been blaming her for everything. Dad won't talk to anyone. Maybe if you just..." "No," I cut her off gently. "You all laughed at me when I was breaking. You don't get to miss the version of me that stayed silent." There was a long pause before she whispered, "You've changed." I smiled faintly. "No, Sophie. I just stopped apologizing for expecting respect." After that, the calls stopped. Their noise faded into nothing, replaced by a calm so quiet it almost felt holy. I spent my evenings on my balcony, the city lights flickering below. I'd sip coffee, scroll past old photos, and feel nothing, no anger, no longing, just relief. They were still out there trying to rebuild their little kingdom of control and pride. But without me funding it, it was just smoke. And for the first time, I realized something simple but powerful. Their regret was my revenge. Months passed quietly after that. My apartment no longer felt empty, it felt alive. The kind of alive that comes from absence from the space toxic people once filled. I started cooking again, not for anyone else's approval, just for the smell of garlic and butter in my own kitchen. I read books I'd bought years ago but never opened. The silence that used to scare me became my favorite sound. Work felt lighter, too. I stopped volunteering for every overtime shift, started saying no when people tried to take advantage. My boss even joked that I looked 10 years younger. Maybe he was right. When you stop carrying someone else's chaos, your back learns how to straighten again. One Friday evening, I took myself out for dinner, alone. A small Italian place downtown. The waiter asked, "Table for two?" I smiled and said, "No, just one, but make it special." As I sat there, I realized peace isn't a celebration. It's not dramatic or loud. It's eating slowly without anxiety. It's not checking your phone every 5 minutes. It's knowing no one's draining you in your absence. Sometimes people think revenge has to be explosive, cinematic, some grand gesture of triumph. But real revenge? It's quiet. It's healing without them. It's smiling when their names come up and feeling nothing. I thought about Claire that night, where she might be, who she might be blaming next. Then I let the thought drift away like steam from my coffee cup. The bill came. I tipped generously, thanked the waiter, and stepped into the cool night air. For the first time in years, I didn't need to look back to see what I'd escaped. I was finally walking toward something. Myself. A year later, I was a completely different man. New job, new apartment. A small circle of real friends. No drama, no manipulation, just life, steady and mine. I'd stopped checking Claire's social media months ago, but sometimes mutual friends would bring her up. "She's back living with her parents," one said. "Things aren't great over there." I'd just nod. I didn't need details. I'd already lived the worst of it once. Then one evening I got an email, her name in the inbox. My chest didn't tighten this time. I opened it. "I don't expect you to reply. I just want you to know, I regret everything. The shopping, the lies, the way my family treated you. You were the only person who ever meant it when you said you loved me." I read it twice. Her words weren't manipulative this time, they were hollow, defeated. She'd finally realized what silence sounds like when it echoes back. I didn't respond. There was nothing left to say. Instead, I walked out onto my balcony. The city buzzed beneath me. Horns, laughter, life moving on. I thought about how much noise I used to live with. How loud misery can be when you're trying to convince yourself it's love. I smiled, took a deep breath and whispered to no one, "You can keep the noise." That night, I closed my laptop, turned off my phone, and sat in the dark. Not in sadness, but in peace. Claire and her family still try to reach me sometimes through others. Apologies, stories, excuses. But they're not really reaching me. They're reaching for the man who used to exist to fix their mess. He's gone. My silence that night wasn't cruelty. It was closure, because sometimes the loudest "I'm done" is the one you never say out loud.